Greetings from the International Labor Organization's Cooperatives Unit, where we are celebrating its 100 years of work. And on this occasion, we have initiated ILO COOP 100 interview series, where we are talking with cooperative leaders from around the world who have worked with ILO, collaborated with the ILO in advancing cooperative development for social justice and decent work. We are here today with Manuel Marino from Costa Rica, who is a lifelong cooperator. He has worked with cooperatives for close to 40 years, and he also was the Regional Director for the Americas for the International Cooperative Alliance. Thank you for joining us, Manuel.
Thank you to you, Sinel, to give me this opportunity to talk about the COOP and the cooperatives and change some thoughts. And of course, also want to congratulate the COOP unit to take this initiative to celebrate the 100-year anniversary, because I mean, we have to recognize the great job that ILO COOP unit have done in favor of the cooperative. And well, again, thank you very much for inviting me to this.
Manuel, you have started with working with cooperatives many years ago. Could you tell us how did you first encounter cooperatives?
Well, perhaps you know that I'm a Swedish citizen, so I lived in Sweden many years. I'm 38, 35 years. And well, I was living in Sweden, in Uppsala. It's a city near Stockholm. And in 1920, I had the opportunity to work for SIDA, for the Swedish International Development Agency in Mozambique, in north part of Mozambique, to work with rural project development. And a part of this project was to try to develop cooperative societies. So I worked for 4 years there. It was a very difficult time because it was a war between the Frelimo party, the government, and well, some guerrillas that were against the government. So we were placed in a region beside Malawi. So it was a really difficult time, but at the same time, it was very interesting to have the possibility to develop these organizations. It was a very poor region, and was a big enterprise that the Portuguese have left when they left Mozambique. So the idea of the government was to recover all this infrastructure. Yes, the company that the Portuguese have left. So I worked with the commercial part of the project. And in that way, I start to be in contact with the cooperative idea. And it was something for me that in some way was according to my ideas that I have always when I was living in Argentina. I live, you know, my background is a bit complicated because I was born in Spain, but I lived until I was 25 in Argentina, and then I moved to Europe. So this possibility to work in Mozambique with this rural development project was very interesting. And there started my interest for the COOP. And when I went back to Sweden after 4 years, I have the possibility to work for Sweden about 3 months, 4 months, to write a paper about the rural development in
Manuel, we are losing you. If you could move your maybe mic, thank you.
Okay. So I went back to Sweden, and as I said, I worked for SIDA 3-4 months, writing a paper about the rural development in Mozambique, and at the same time, I was helping the Swedish Cooperative Center we effect today to start the work in Costa Rica and Nicaragua. And that was the way I started in contact with this region. So, I worked several years in Stockholm, from 84 to 96. I was working in Stockholm, and in charge of the project that we effect started in Costa Rica and Nicaragua, but at the same time I was in charge of the projects in Zimbabwe and Kenya. So because of my experience in Mozambique. So I think that all that gave me a big experience. In Kenya and Zimbabwe, really, I worked with farmers' union to develop and strengthen farmers' unions. We are not cooperatives exactly, but of course, these farmers' unions can a few, and the other one in Zimbabwe have relations and contacts and work together with the COPs, but they were a farmers' union. So, well, I combined that experience with COPs in Latin America and farmers' unions in Africa, in Kenya and Zimbabwe.
You mentioned starting this work with the Swedish Cooperative Center, which is now We Effect. And you actually work with them as their regional director at some point.
Yeah, that's right. Well, in '96, the We Effect decided to start a regional office in Latin America. It was in '96 they took the decision, but the board discussed this during 2-3 years. And they want me to come to this region as a regional director. But I was not very convinced, really, because when I was working in Stockholm, I used to come to Latin America 3, 4, 5 times per year. And I said, well, what I'm going to do there, because we already know, well, but anyway, the board decided to start a regional office, and it was quite natural that I would be the regional director, because I was the director for the Department of Latin America in Stockholm. So that was in '96, and we have at that time we have 2 projects. Well, we start 2 projects. One in Nicaragua was a very big one because of the contrast in Nicaragua. So this project was the project that We Effect support, was to create at that time called tiendas campesinas, but it was something similar to COPs, you know. But it was also a difficult time. It looked like, I don't know, but I like to work in countries where there were war, because in Mozambique it was a war during the time I worked, and then I came to Nicaragua and was exactly the same. A war because of the contrast and like that. So it was a difficult time as well, but it was a big project. And then came the Mitch that I don't know if you remember, the Mitch was a big catastrophe for the region.
Hurricane.
So the SIDA gave a lot of money to recover the countries after the Mitch, and I was in charge of that for the whole region. And in Nicaragua was a rural development project, as I said, to start tiendas campesinas around the country. And in Costa Rica was to support the consumer courts. So there were different projects. But at the same time, the idea was to develop the cooperative development in other countries. So after a while, we started to support cooperatives in Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and yes, Nicaragua and Costa Rica, and a regional project that covered all the regions. So it was at that time a big engagement from VFX in Central America, really big engagement, and the organization was very well known in the whole region. And I think that VFX has done a very good job in the region during many years.